Hello? Hello? Okay, so guess who's back? Back again. Pacho's back. Tell a friend. All right. Okay, so indeterminate forms and Lhopitals rules. So now, this is where it comes into play where it's really easy. It's really nice. And you know when those limit problems that you really, really hate? This makes them really, really easy. But there's a couple things that has to happen first for this to work. It has to be identified as indeterminate forms, which are 0 over 0 or infinity over infinity. And these only work with quotient type problems. Quotient, you know, like fraction with like stuff on top and bottom, those type things. Yes, that's when it works. So right here, definition indeterminate form at C, the type 0, 0 or infinity over infinity. So if I go through and plug in the number C, or whatever I'm taking the limit to, I plug it in, and then if I get 0 over 0, that's indeterminate. If I get infinity over infinity, that's also indeterminate. So it also looks a plus or minus infinity. Okay, so that's going to work also. Plus or minus infinity, that's part of it. All right, so right here, identifying indeterminate forms. So now, for this one right here, to be able to do this, I need to actually plug in a number. And this one right here, we are plugging in at 0, I believe. Yes, this one's going to be 0. So yeah, we're plugging in at 0. I forgot to actually change that one on this. So for right here, if I'm plugging in at 0, so if I plug in 0, what is 3 times 0 here? 0. Now, trigonometry, where's cosine? What is cosine at 0? 1. So this is going to give me 1 minus 1 over 2 times 0, right? Which is going to be 0 over 0. So therefore, that is the indeterminate form. Okay, that's indeterminate there. So now, let's plug in 0 for this one. So that's going to give me negative 1. Okay, so that one's not going to be indeterminate. What would make this one be 0? Think about the top. What would make it 0? It would be 1, right? So it would be 1 minus 1, which would be 0. So let's see. 1 minus 1 over. And if I plug in 1, that's going to be... That's 1 plus 2 minus 3. That's also 0 over 0. So that would be indeterminate form there. At the number 1. This one's at the number 0. And so for this one right here, that would be... Would it be 0? No. 0 squared, 0. But anything to the 0 power is 1. So that doesn't work, right? What about infinity? So infinity squared is going to give me infinity, right? And e to the infinity. There we go. That's how we get it on that one. So, yes, they are infinity over infinity. So there is an indeterminate form off of that. Okay, Lhopitals rules. Suppose that we have the indeterminate form at the number, whatever c is. It cannot be equal to 0, so it's going to be... You have to write this out. When you're actually doing this and it comes to the AP exam, if you do not actually write it out it's as indeterminate form or put it 0 over 0 or infinity over infinity, you do not get full points. You cannot use Lhopitals rule unless you state it already 0 over 0 or infinity over infinity. Okay, you have to do that first, otherwise it doesn't work. Okay, you don't get those points. Okay, so first thing that we do here is we're checking that it is indeterminate. That's the first thing you have to do. You don't go directly into Lhopitals rule because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you have to check indeterminate because if it's not indeterminate, Lhopitals does not apply. Okay, anyway, all right, so check right here, take the derivative of top and bottom, and then plug in the c value. Plug in the c value. If it's indeterminate again, take the second derivative. Take the derivative of the derivative, and you could keep doing it until you eventually get to the point where you get a real number off of it. So it is going to work eventually. Okay, so add 0. Add 0. So think about it. So tangent at 0. Tangent at 0. Tangent is y over x. So on my unit circle, all the way to the right, add 0. The y value is going to be 0. The x value is 1. So 0 over 1 is 0. Very good. So that's 0. 6 times 0 is 0. So now I have stated it's indeterminate, right? So I did that first. You having trouble with unit circle right now?
Yeah.
Thinking about it?
Like,
I think I still have a couple more copies of the unit circle somewhere.
I just remember what it was. I was like Sir Cox's text, and I was like, oh, okay.
Okay. All right. So 0 over 0. So now we're going to take the derivative. Okay, these are things that are on the flashcards and on the Quizlet app that I sent out. Okay, the derivative of tangent is secant squared. So this is going to give me, so this would be my f, and this is my g. So f prime over g prime, it's going to be secant squared of x over 6. There we go. And now let's plug that in. Let's plug that in. Let's plug in 0 now. So secant is 1 over x, right?
1 over cosine.
Or 1 over cosine. So it's 1 over cosine or 1 over the x value. So now add 0. Add 0. What is cosine at 0?
1.
1. Very good. Cosine is 1 at 0. But isn't this, we said it's 1 over cosine squared, right? So it's going to be 1 over 1 squared, right? 1 squared is just 1, so 1 over 1 is 1. So we're going to end up getting, we get 1 over 6 as my answer. So my Lhopitals, I did the derivative, then I plugged in 0 again, and then I ended up getting 1 over 6. Like I said, sometimes you have to go into more derivatives, but right now we're just starting there. Is everyone okay with this one, or is it? Okay, just having to get that brain working again. All right, so this one right here. So sine at 0. 0. So it's the y value at 0, right? So it's 0 minus 0 over 0 squared. So that's 0 over 0, right? Okay, so there's my indeterminate. Are we okay? So there's my indeterminate there. And so now let's take the derivative. What is the derivative of sine? So if this is my f, this is my g. So f prime is going to be cosine. So it's cosine x, and the derivative of x is
1.
very good, minus 1 over the derivative of x squared, 2x. There we go. Now let's plug in 0. Let's plug in 0. So if I plug in 0, what is cosine at 0? 1. So it's going to be 1 minus 1 over 2 times 0 is? So it's 0 over 0. Right there. Okay, 0 over 0. So again, that is indeterminate form. That's indeterminate form. So let's take the derivative again. So it's going to be f double prime. So the derivative of cosine is negative sine. Derivative of negative 1? Just 0, so that goes away, right? Okay, and derivative of 2x is just 2. Okay, so now can I plug in 0? Yes, I can. So What's the sign value at 0? 0, right? Over 2. So 0 over 2 is just going to give me 0, right? It's no longer indeterminate. It's just 0 over 2, which my answer is 0. Jess. Okay, and I think there is one more. Yeah, I think it's this one that I leave you alone for a little bit. Actually, no, I think it's just these just those last ones. We're gonna work more on this one tomorrow. Okay, so don't forget, like, subscribe.
Hello.
Hello.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.